Hello, everyone. Really happy to be here and present to you on some journey mapping that we did, and we partnered with people with lived experience as well as Emily Carr University of Art and Design. And before we get started, we'll do some introductions. My name is Catherine Proudfoot. I am the Director of Patient Experience and Community Engagement for BC Mental Health and Substance Use. And I'll hand it over to Victoria.
Hi, my name is Victoria Maxwell. I am a lived experience strategic advisor with BC MHSUS, as well as a mental health educator and speaker. And I'll hand it over to Kaylee.
Hi, I'm Kaylee. I'm the director of the Health Design Lab at Emily Carr University.
Great, thank you. Okay, so about almost a year ago now, Kaylee, myself, and Victoria, and a large group of people who are helping to support this project to partner together to understand what we call the patient journey at Heartwood Center for Women. And Heartwood Center for Women is a smaller facility that is part of BC Mental Health and Substance Use Services and is located within Heartwood Center for Women. Is located within the BC Women's Hospital here in Vancouver. And it is a 3-month inpatient residential program for women with concurrent disorders, mental health, and substance use. And we wanted to do a taking stock of our understanding more about what the journey of the clients were from pre-admission all the way to discharge. And so the goals of the workshops or the journey maps, and before I get into the goals, I'll speak to more about what a journey map is. And I think Kaylee, you'll speak a little bit about this too. But briefly, a journey map is a picture of what the journey is for clients from beginning to end. And it's somewhat akin to, in some ways, a patient experience survey, but it's done much more in an engagement style, focus group style. And at the end, we have a deeper understanding of what the experience is like at that moment in time. And so the goals were to leverage the power of storytelling and story sharing and self-expression to understand what the experience was at Heartwood Center. We also wanted to help clients identify and communicate to us opportunities from their perspective that we could improve services at Heartwood Center for Women. And then also we wanted to use the information that we heard and synthesize it and collect it together so that we could create a report that could then be used for moving forward quality improvement projects, strategic directional planning, and improving patient experience at the center. So from the client perspective. I'm going to hand it now over to Kaylee to talk a little bit more about the process that we took to complete the journey maps.
Thanks, Catherine. So Catherine's team brought on board the Health Design Lab at Emily Carr to help facilitate this process. And the Health Design Lab is a research and design center at the university that's really focused on using participatory design methods to catalyze, support, and amplify initiatives that address health challenges. And we're a team of designers, including faculty, research associates, and students who generally work collaboratively with communities through storytelling, visualizing, making, and co-design. And we do that through collaborations and projects that generally seek to foster new ideas, uncover new opportunities, improve systems and services, and amplify voices and stories. And in most of the work that we do, we really believe that creative strategies and hands-on activities and opportunities for expression through images, objects, metaphors can really help to draw out people's ideas and insights and stories. We see our role as designers as being one that's about being there to trigger and support large design processes by building the necessary coalitions among different partners. We see our role as being helpful in analyzing existing resources and enabling the active participation of people who are immediately concerned. And so that was really our role on this project, to sort of step in as more neutral outsiders and to find ways to listen and to hear the perspectives of clients at Heartwood and to help them express those needs and their experiences to staff. Each project that we do is quite different, and the engagement process for the project in this case was developed in close collaboration with the site manager, with Victoria, our strategic advisor and collaborator with lived experience, with Katie and Catherine from BC Mental Health's experience and community engagement team, and with 2 design students from Emily Carr, Georgia and Utah. And so we led 4 workshops with a handful of current clients at Heartwood, and this included a series of hands-on activities. The first activity was really meant to help support clients in articulating what some of their key experiences have been and how they were thinking and feeling at that time, and what were important moments to them so far in their journey. We also used collage as a way to understand how clients' strengths are supported at Heartwood and how their personal views on healing may or may not align with the kind of care that they receive at Heartwood. And in our final workshop, through all of the workshops, we gathered a lot of rich conversations and ideas about challenges and opportunities for improvement. We had a lot of data and detailed notes. And we started to collate those into a final report. And so the final workshop was really about co-writing and co-editing that report directly with the participants. And so this is a snapshot of what the high-level journey map looked like that we created together. And this really articulates the key points of the Heartwood journey. And it essentially acted as sort of a table of contents for the report, which provided more in-depth information about each of the phases that you see here. And so we gathered insights around what the pre-admission experience was like, what the transition and treatment experience was like. We also heard a lot about the living experience at Heartwood and also the kinds of relationships around that experience and how that influences the actual sort of treatment and medical care and that healing journey for patients. And following that work with clients, it was really important to start to engage staff in conversations and to reflect and ideate on opportunities raised by clients. And so we engaged staff in a series of both in-person and virtual workshops to better understand their perspective and to have them brainstorm and sort of ideate off of the ideas of clients. And so this is just sort of a screenshot from some of that process. And ultimately, we came up with a series of recommendations through staff conversations. We don't expect you to be able to read this in any way, but just wanted to share how some of the information and insights were visualized and presented for future consideration and development. And largely, these suggestions were sort of split into 2 types of ideas that were really about new or improved resources and tools, and ideas that were more significant and really about sort of structural or staffing changes and how that could make a difference. So I'll pass it over to Victoria to share a little more about her role and to talk more about the experience.
My role is a lived experience strategic advisor. So what that means is I live with mental illness, bipolar disorder, anxiety, and psychosis. And so I brought that experience to the sessions that we held with the clients. And I was able to sort of create a safe space and a safe container so that there was ideally some rapport that could be more easily built more quickly than if just people that didn't have any shared experience came in and started exercises. So I was there to sort of be a soundboard if people had concerns, if people had questions. I was able to sort of mirror some of the experiences and things that they were sharing, and also being a conduit not only for the clients, but also for the design team. So if the design team had questions about what might be appropriate language, or if something would be a good exercise or maybe a less effective exercise, I could give my opinion and sort of brainstorm from there. And the feedback that we got from the clients involved was really heartening. They really mentioned how they felt like they, as you can see from some of the quotes, that they felt like they were a leader, that their voice was being heard. And I think that's really essential, especially in a journey map that's about the client journey, because it is about their experience. And so being able to make sure that I was facilitating that in any way that I could was really important. And the creative process just kept sort of blossoming and becoming more full as each session progressed, because the trust was increasing and people were bonding more and more with both each other as well as the facilitators. And my own experience, it was a really validating experience to see how shared experience supports each other, because it was not just my experience that was supporting others, but the clients themselves were supporting each other and finding out things that maybe they hadn't known about each other originally. So I think it was there were sort of some surprise outcomes just within the process itself. So that's really where I sort of fit in, being able to also help edit and sort of do some copy reading for the final product, and mentioning things that might not have been as effectively communicated was another part of my role. And so I think I will pass it along. I think it's back to Catherine or possibly Kaylee. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, I can wrap up, Kaylee, if there's anything else though, if you want to say, or okay, great. Yeah, so I think in summary, it was a really rewarding experience, and I really, I think any journey mapping is a great idea, and I would recommend it for other people working in healthcare and trying to understand the patient perspective and the patient journey. I think Emily Carr Health Design Lab does an exceptional job in terms of really diving deep in understanding the patient journey. So that was something that I found quite rewarding, was that, the process is, and like other projects we partnered on with the Health Design Lab, is that the process is just as important, I find, in terms of driving person-centered care and protecting that positive person-centered culture in this type of environment, taking that trauma-informed approach as the product, as the output. So now we have this final report, and Victoria spoke to her deep involvement with it, and her involvement is really important and critical to this as well, because the partnership with Health Design Lab, but then having that strong voice of lived experience to have input into how the questions were designed, how we designed the workshops, how we even designed the final report, was really from that foundation of the lived experience. And so we now have this report that we're working closely with operational leaders at Heartwood to think about next steps. And so we're thinking now, what we're focusing on now is that intake process is our first steps, because we learned a lot of different things, both positive and areas for improvement, and communication and how we communicate that is really important from the patient perspective or the client perspective. And sometimes as healthcare providers, we think that we're doing a really good job at communicating all the things that are needing to be communicated, but we're coming at that from a healthcare perspective. And from the client perspective, what we learned was that, particularly more in a residential care, like a long-term, where people are living at the facility, those types of environmental things versus the model of care or the treatment become really important. So, how we communicate at pre-intake and intake, what we communicate it doesn't always have to be medical information. Some of the things people were curious about was, what can I bring? What will my living environment be like? What's the food situation? So things that we tend to overlook sometimes in healthcare really came out in the journey maps, and we're looking forward to improving that intake communication with clients and beyond. So these will be valuable documents for us as we look forward into the future at Heartwood Center. Thank you.